Welcome back to the Junius Maltby channel. Another dramatic opening for, of course, an overly dramatic story. However, there's some pertinent information in this story that we need to discuss because we cover this topic every now and again. And this theme was in an article that we read and went through last month, I believe it was, regarding the wealthy elite building bunkers in other parts of the country. And here we find an article. It was in the New York Times and was picked up by a couple of other outlets, titled "Preppers Stuck in Cities, Elite Chartering Getaway Boats in Case of Manhattan Emergency." From the New York Times, the article stated, "Here's how the rich can escape New York City when a calamity hits." Now, I can tell you right now, this is not talking about hurricanes or Atlantic storms, because the last thing the wealthy elite would want to do during that course of events would be to enter a watercraft and go out onto the water. This involves Plan B Marine, private evacuation service. These are boats that people, the wealthy, are going to pay to charter themselves and to even navigate and drive themselves. One of the co-owners of the company interviewed was Chris Dowie. These are former Coast Guard craft. They're pretty robust when you watch the interview that took place on the New York Times article. Apparently these craft can completely capsize and still float and are very durable. Here we read one of the openings to an article saying, "Paranoid New Yorkers now have a speedy way out of the city should disaster strike." Chris Dowie, co-owner of Plan B Marine, runs a marine evacuation service which advertises the fastest possible way out of Manhattan. Whether it's power failure, blackouts, grid failure, bad weather, flooding, or a terrorist attack, Dowie's clients want to be prepared for doomsday. I would strike out flooding, which would most likely be caused by torrential rains and a hurricane, and bad weather, again, hurricane. This is not why the wealthy elite. They put that in there so they don't sound crazy to their friends and acquaintances. You're not getting a watercraft in preparation for a major storm. This is to bug out of the city due to images that we saw in the very opening of this video. Yes, this is a fast and speedy way out of New York City. As we'll find out here, some of the estimated times to evacuate the islands and densely populated urban areas of the East Coast can exceed 24 to 30 hours. There is an inherent dilemma for most of the people living in cities. Even those who are aware of the extremely fragile fabric of society are often stuck living in urban areas. Perhaps they plan to retire to a country abode or construct a hideaway to escape to if the need ever arises. But for now, they are stuck in the city making a living. This is true even for the rich, but now they have a backup plan. The biggest of American cities, and one of the most gridlocked, is New York City, with Manhattan and Long Island both isolated islands trapped during emergencies from the rest of the world. That's why those with the means and the forethought are now chartering emergency charters to get out of the city. Probably a good idea, especially if the helicopter is out of your price range. So as anyone who's familiar with the region they're talking about is very bottlenecked and congested. To go from Long Island out through New York City to evacuate that region would involve bridges, some very tight highway and roadways, and all it takes, as we've discussed on this channel, on this very issue in the past, is one or two stalled vehicles and you're not going anywhere. The entire roadway is blocked. Traffic is a standstill. From the New York Post, quote, "A lot of people don't want to wait on a line to get on a ferry, and they don't want to worry about walking off of Manhattan as people had to do in the past. They know a boat is the fastest way, and we take the worry out of maintaining and preparing and always readying your vessel," he added. Not only does the company promise a speedy getaway, it plans individual evacuation routes for each person depending on their personal needs. "You don't have a captain. You have to drive this boat yourself," Dowie told the Post, adding that in a crisis, people are more concerned with helping their own families than maneuvering someone else's escape vehicle. So there's a plan in place to get you and your family, or those that will be on the watercraft with you, to the docks, to the boat, where you will then pilot the boat yourself. The unique evacuation service costs an annual fee of $90,000 a year, and is catered toward wealthy individuals and corporations who don't have time to mastermind their own escape. Clients access the boats with an individual punch-in number, and should they need to abandon it at any time, Dowie's company will locate it. Here we see a map of the eastern seaboard. Interesting concept, and the fact that this has become a business model is also telling of the times. Estimates have placed evacuation from major coastal cities at more than 24 hours. There you can see cities in yellow are estimated to take 20 to 29 hours to evacuate. If it's in orange, 40 to 49. That lighter orange color, 30 to 39. And if it's a red city, like New Orleans or Fort Myers, Florida, you're looking at 50 to 60 hours to evacuate your location. For Long Island, where millions of New Yorkers live, it would be 20 to 29 hours to get off the island during that time. People will lose their patience, run out of gas, become hungry, be denied access to medications and drugs, need emergency services, and resort to crime, etc. Remember, in New Orleans after the hurricane, within 48 hours, we were looking at a completely anarchy-filled war zone. The one percenters have long been serious about their prepping, for they know too well about the very real dangers being constructed and the house of cards that is overpoised to collapse. There has been a steady rise in the upper-class investment into underground bunker communities, typically decked out with furnishings and amenities that nearly compare with above-ground living. There have also been the high-profile investors buying up getaway farms in places like New Zealand or South America and hedging with mountain retreats and fortified safe rooms. While the amount of money they are spending remains mostly pocket change to the biggest players, it represents a serious consideration of the high risk for social disruption, chaos, and mega disasters, such as the collapse of the power grid. Whether it's terrorism or an economic collapse or war, regardless of the causation, there will be a need for large numbers of people to evacuate these densely populated urban areas. And thus, Plan B, this company here, is servicing that need with watercraft to just go the other way, get off the islands and get off the coast via the water route. Again, $7,500 per month to maintain a membership with such a company in order to retreat from your urban East Coast environment should the need arise. This just further validates that point that I've made in the past, that there is something boiling under the surface, and the wealthy elite do know something. They must. So take care of yourselves, friends, and family. To all of you out there on the Junius Maltby channel, thanks for watching. Thanks for preparing yourselves for what you know may be a possibility in the future. Be safe, keep stacking, and keep your head on a swivel. Thanks for watching.